Hello everyone, in this video we will understand about form state and how to add validation in the form. In the previous tutorial we made a simple form by using template driven approach in which we were using template reference variable to bind our form with ngForm object. Now there is another approach also for making forms in Angular, which is reactive approach, but we will see that in the later section of videos about how to use that reactive approach for making forms and adding validation. But for now we will only see the template driven approach. So when we were submitting this form, we were getting the ngForm object which Angular was making in the backend. So in this object you will see some bunch of properties are there which Angular makes while creating the form, like properties like touched, valid. So all these properties are self-explanatory, and you will see that this valid property will only be true when this form will be valid. But for now it will always be true because we haven't added any validations. So let's see how to add validation in template driven approach. So this is very simple. You just write the required attribute for adding the validation. So this required attribute will tell Angular that if this input field is empty, that means our form is invalid. Okay, so this required attribute will play a major role in the validation. Okay, so similarly we have done for the email also. We have added required attribute for name as well as email. So if we are submitting without entering any name and email, you will see the valid property will be false because we haven't entered any name and email. Now if you enter the name and submit it, you'll still see the validity of the form will be false because we have added validation for email also. Okay, so type the email and submit this form. So as you can see, we have added name as well as email. That means our form is valid, so it is true. Okay, so in this way you can add validation. Now there's another thing also which I need to tell you. So inspect the email input field. Okay, you can also inspect the name input field. You will see that some classes will be there which Angular adds on its own, like ngDirty, ngValid, ngTouched. So these classes are added by Angular on its own. Okay, so in the beginning you will see classes will be different. Okay, first it will be untouched and then invalid, but as soon as you enter the detail in the form, these classes will change. Okay, if you see, as soon as you're entering data in the form, these properties are getting changed, these classes are getting changed. So we can use these classes to add some styling and to show error messages whenever the form is invalid. Okay, so let's see how to add some styles by using these classes. So what I want to do is I want to show the red border to the input field whenever the form is invalid, or you can say in simple language whenever the input field is empty. Okay, so I want to show the border red. Okay, so for now it will be red, but I want that this red border should be shown whenever I am entering in the input field, but I am not entering any data. That means I am touching this input field but I am not entering any data. So for that I need to write the ngTouch class also. Okay, so this will only work if suppose user touch the input field but forgets to enter the data. So in that case it will show the error by showing you the red border. Okay, so this is a cool user interface which will tell user that he forgets to enter the data. So you can use this styling. Now what if I want to show error message beneath the input fields if user forgets to enter data, or if user writes the invalid data? So for that you can use *ngIf directive. So take a span element, and inside this span element we will write the error message, which we will only show when the email input field will be invalid. Okay, so inside this you can write the error message that you want to show. Okay, so in the *ngIf we will write the condition for the email input field, but first we need to bind this email input field with some reference variable. So you can do that by typing hash and then write any name equals to the ng model. Okay, so now you can use this email input field. So in the condition we will write whenever this email input field will be invalid, we want to show this message. Okay, so you can see error message is coming, but we want to show this message only when we are touching the input field but we forget to write the data, or we are writing the invalid email. So for that you need to write the ng touched. Okay, so touched property you need to also write. So as you can see, when we are writing the valid email like @gmail.com, then this error message is going away. But as soon as we are typing wrong email, this error is again coming. Okay, so you can check by writing the data. Okay, so as you can see, we have entered the proper email and the error is not coming. But as soon as we are writing the improper email, invalid email, error is coming. Okay, so that means our validation is working. Similarly, you can add validation to this button also. Okay, so this button will only work when the form will be valid. Okay, so you can just write simple disabled property. So this will be true only when the form will be invalid. So whenever the form will be invalid, the button will become disabled. So as you can see, this submit button is not working right now. So when you will be entering proper data in your form, the submit button will become enable. Okay, so in this way you can add validation in the form by using template driven approach. In the next video we will see how to make forms and add validation using reactive approach. Okay, thank you for watching video.